G'day and welcome back to Foord Offroad. In this video, I'm continuing on the patrol build. More specifically, pulling it further apart than I ever thought I would. Taking the engine and gearbox out, probably the front diff out. I've got some PSR chassis brace plates to go along the inside of the chassis from there all the way up to the engine mounts. And I'm just going to paint it, do some rust proofing, things like that, clean it up. And then after that, finally I can start putting it back together. So I've got a big list of things to do today. See how much gets done. Let's get into it. Righto. My boss, who I've mentioned before, is a bit of a legend, has let me use the our work call out ute with a crane on it, so I can pull the engine and box out in one go. So he's got a chain over the motor and then a ratchet strap down to the box, and we'll see what happens. It's off the engine mounts. Is that off the gearbox mounts? Hold it there. Just pulling the motor back. Huh? Just pulling the motor back.
If the gearbox has come up,
I'm going to go up a bit more.
righto.
Maybe. This control's confusing us. Done. I'm going to start working on the chassis. Going to pull some shit apart, cut some shit up, weld some shit on, and paint it. Got the PSR chassis brace plates. So I'm going to clean up everything that's required to get those in there. They just go like that on the chassis. They fit real good, and I'm using Superior long arms, and these plates fit with Superior long arms too, so that's good. You do have to chop some stuff up, make them work, and once you're done, because they actually cover up a lot of these little holes, once they're on there, you'll have to drill and tap new holes to hold the hold your brake lines and fuel lines and stuff in place. As well as that, these mounts here on patrols are pretty renowned for getting dirt behind there and rusting, so I've chopped those off, cleaned everything on the inside up. I'm going to put some rust proofing on there and paint it all up and then weld them back on. I'm also going to notch cross member. Well, I'm going to pull the cross member out, notch it, pull those lower arms out, and cap the end of the chassis from when I had to, because I'm running a mill weld bar and you got to chop the end off, so I'm going to cap it. And I've got a lot of welding and a lot of grinding to do today, so let's get into it. Well, that's the easiest thing of the day ticked off the list. Right, I've got the left side all clamped on. See how it goes. Brace is pretty much from the engine mount all the way back to that cross member. You can get ones that brace further and further forwards, but I'm just going to brace the middle, because I don't really need all the rest of it. That's made out of, that's PSR laser cut out of 4mm mild steel, so that's not going to bend. You're basically adding the thickness of the chassis again. So anyway, I'm going to mark that, grind it, cut everything off that I need to cut off, and then I'll get it welded on. Just like that. That's a heavy piece of metal. Righto, that side is ground, ready to go. I was about to grind this side, and the problem with running battery angle grinders is you've only got a certain amount of time. Ow. Right, I got that one side all on, all tacked together. Now I'm gonna move on to notching the cross member. I've marked where I'm going to cut out. The reason not to cross member is so that on full down travel, the front drive shaft doesn't hit it. So marked out where I'm going to cut it, and then I'm just going to plate it in with probably just some 3 or 5 mil plate, weld her up and stick it back in. Oh, that's hot as still from when I cut it. Fuck, that's hot. Ow, get in place, get in place. Just let that cool down. Bloody battery powered tools. They're awesome until they're not. As is common on most patrols, these bolts snapped as soon as I tried to undo them. So I've made this welding mount for an 80 series bump stop, or whatever you want to put in there. It's got a hole in the middle. It's easy to get. Just went to the local fab shop and bent it up. Just got a welder in there like that. Okay, change of plans. I'm going to pull the front diff completely out and the steering box and all that so I can paint the chassis once it's done, so it'll be bare chassis at the front. And when I weld them, I'll just bolt the cross member back in. I'm also going to pull everything off, but pretty much just going to strip every single thing off the chassis, every nut and bolt. So I can paint it and prime it and make it all nice and proper. Even though in the very last video I put the back diff back in, but now I'm going to pull it back out. So let's do that. A lot easier to move the front diff around. Over here, I'll introduce you to the new daily troll. 2007 3 litre, that's right, she's got a grenade in it. Got an LS on the back if that counts. And what are those? Leaf springs, can't go wrong with leaf springs. Anyway, done a couple things to it. I can't drive a standard car, it's got to have something done to it. So I built a tray on that, 2-inch lift in the front, 34-inch Goodyear mud tyres. That should do me. Anyway, back to this. Righto, back down in the shed after work. I have, throughout the week, I know I've kind of skipped a little bit. I've welded every second one along the top, flipped the chassis over, welded every second one, and then completely welded the whole bottom of the chassis. Now I've flipped it back over to finish weld the top, paint the back end of the chassis tonight hopefully. Only the back because I only think I have enough paint for that. Then I can put that rear diff back on. I've also painted the rear diff over there and finished notching out the cross member. So let's get into some welding. I've also put on welded on the long arm rock slider mounts because now you can't mount the slider exactly where you want to mount it. So Superior Engineering makes that they sell with their kit for you to weld on. So that's why that's there. I'm going to paint the back now, it'll be dry tomorrow, I can chuck that back together. Still got a couple of welds to finish, but other than that, it's good to go. Oh, I don't want to paint over my sticker. I like that sticker. Chassis all painted. Got the ute with the crane on it again. Fuel tank's in there just for now so I can make the exhaust around it. Looking good. Nice and shiny. Alright, let's chuck this in. Alright, motor's back in. I've left the springs out of control on purpose because I wanted to put the engine in and see how close the sump was to the diff and the steering arm on full travel, and if I had to I was going to extend the bump stops, but it's got enough clearance there, so that's all good. If you can see in there, it's got plenty around it. It's got 80 series bump stops and it's got plenty of clearance. And two, when I make the exhaust, I want to make sure it's not going to hit anything. So that's pretty much it for this video. Just going to push it back into the shed, tarp over the motor, and leave it for next time. Next video is going to be making the exhaust and probably something else as well. Righto, that's it for this video. Chassis all painted. I did skip a couple of things. Like that video was actually about a month's worth of work. Pulling the whole thing apart, welding it all together, flipping it over, welding it all, painting it, putting the diffs under, bracing the rear diff, all that stuff. But I'm finally up to reassembly, which is a good thing because it's a lot closer to being done than it was before. So like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. And then we can smash it back together, fire it up, and go for a drive. So thanks for watching. See you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe.